From the creators of Relevant Magazine, this is the Relevant Podcast.
I need your love and I need your touch, like I need a bolt of lightning from the sky above. I've been thinking about you.
It is Friday, February 21st. The year is 2020. You're listening to the Relevant Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Huckabee. I'm coming to you from Nashville, Tennessee, down there in Orlando, Florida. Nobody felt like going into Chandler's apartment today. It was covered in a Jumanji-type outgrowth of plants, of vines, of Amazonian-type vines. We were not interested in figuring out what had happened to him, but keep him in your prayers this weekend. Instead, we have the A-Team. We have our illustrious producer, Clark Flippo. Hey, Clark.
Hey.
Meanwhile, up there in Loveland, Virginia, sent him on a mission to rescue Chandler to no avail. He said he's staying right where he is. He values his own safety too much. It's our friend Jesse Carey.
Hello.
And we are it today, but we're being joined later on the show by, we got a good one. Sadie Robertson is joining us to talk about her new book, Live, Remain Alive, Be Alive at a Specified Time, and Have an Exciting, Fulfilling Life. I got to talk to Sadie about her book. You don't want to miss her conversation about that. Also, got a special preview for you guys. Upcoming episode of Called, the podcast that we've been working on for church leaders. They got to talk to our friend Eugene Cho, and we are going to give you a sneak preview of that conversation. If you know who Eugene Cho is, and I assume most of you do, you don't want to miss that. It's a really cool conversation, and it's a really cool podcast.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that season 2 of Called is coming up on its mid-season point. Next week is episode 5. This past week we had incredible conversation with Rob Hoskins, but we figured, hey, we're coming up on season 5. Let's give people a little preview in case they didn't jump in at episode 1. Get them in halfway.
Yeah.
They can subscribe, hear the rest of this conversation, and listen to all the episodes. This season has been really, really popular with listeners. So even if you're not in church leadership, if you know someone who is, check out the preview of next week's Called episode. And if you like it, recommend it and download it. We're very, very excited about it. Guys, we're for a little peek behind the curtain today. Is that okay? Can I give listeners a peek behind the curtain?
Well, I guess it depends on what you're talking about.
Clark is not wearing a shirt. That is what I wanted to tell people. It's
true.
It's warm day down there, and he's just owning it and loving life.
With my oatmeal.
Yeah, with his oatmeal. So, this episode, it's kind of a skeleton crew. Chandler is gone. Chandler is going to get a new tattoo in Austin. I'm telling people his plans. I don't think he cares. If he does, well, then
I don't think I even knew
go
that.
Find
That's real.
him.
This is a real behind the scenes. Real BTS.
He is going this week. We were supposed to record yesterday. We had some additional guests that we're trying to get to co-host with us. We're going to record at a time when we have plenty of time to turn this episode around. No problem. But unfortunately, I fell ill yesterday. And I called up the guys because Clark is, he's got big plans this weekend. He had predetermined plans to knock off a little early on Friday, and I wasn't going to disrupt those with my illnesses. Tyler held down the fort all day yesterday, but guys, I said we have one option if we're getting this show out today, and that is a sunrise podcast session.
That's right.
And that's what we're doing here. If you're listening, if you're listening on Friday, that means this was recorded at 7 a.m. that morning. This is maybe the earliest recording we've ever done, but listen, it's close to live. But listen, the show must go on. There's a lot of great content we got to get to this week, and I just felt like, hey, it's either no show or an early morning show, and I went early morning. Clark, Tyler, do you consider yourselves morning people?
Well, kids make me one of those people. So yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. They force your hand. See, my children, we just give them free reign of the house until about 9 o'clock on a Saturday. I don't know what they're doing. One day the front door was open. I think they ran an errand that morning, but I don't let them hold down my sleep. Tyler,
So your kids, Jesse, in the Carey household, it's like it's a Home Alone situation. It's a Kevin McAllister situation with like ice cream and Fruit Loops and chocolate sauce, watching
Exactly.
R-rated movies until you and Dana wake up.
Well, look, man, sleep is important. You know, that's what I did when I was a kid. My parents let me watch whatever I want, mostly because they weren't aware of what I was watching, and so I turned out terrible, and I hope I get turned out better.
Speaking of, we have a lot to get to today. Eugene Cho, Sadie Robertson, we have a lot to get to before we
A-list show. Yeah.
Before we launch into that, can I run a hot take by you two? Just get your takes
the
on
hotter
this.
the better. I'm
go
drinking
with the
coffee.
coffee?
Yeah, I'm drinking coffee as we're talking. It's very early in the morning. Do you guys feel like you're doing morning radio to a degree? Like we all got our coffees. It's very early. Like I've never, when I was like growing up, this was like pre-podcast era. That's what I would listen. I would listen to like well, I would listen to like the morning shock jocks. Like we had one around here called Tommy and Rumble. And they would play it on like the Hard Rock station, and they would basically just do like amateur prank calls and stuff. And then we had like Man Cow and like Howard Stern syndicated. So
Nice.
My humor, and I'm talking like 4th, 5th grade. Like that's what I would be like. All right, well, I'm turning on the shock jock. Anyway, I feel like we're going shock jock mode. Tyler, it's interesting. You went to click and clack. You picture yourself as more of a Steve Inskeep type, like the morning edition on NPR, where I'm in the shock jock seat. Wonka, wonka, wonka. Woo! You know what I mean? Like just 1,000 sound effects for every punchline to underscore every punchline. But that's fine.
I mean, we're doing, I guess, a mashup then of genres this morning on our morning show. We're bringing all our disparate morning show influences. And who knows how combustible this combination is going to be for this podcast. We're in untested waters.
Because I feel like whatever your hot take is about to be, it's going to be far closer to a morning edition. Like what's the woman who is like, it's going to be like morning edition political commentary. From Laxmi Singh, where I am bringing my hot takes are from Ricky and the Bull in the mornings.
Well, get our siren sound effect ready, our fire alarm ready, because this isn't my hot take. This is somebody else's hot take that I wanted to run by you. This is coming from, you guys, I'm sure, are familiar with the work of Kevin Smith.
Yes.
The 90s filmmaker behind movies like Dogma, Chasing Amy, Mallrats,
Clerks,
right?
Yeah.
Jay and Silent Bob.
Clerks, yeah. No, Jay and Silent Bob. It's an interesting cat for sure. Got all kinds of takes.
Loves hockey jerseys. Lots of hockey jerseys.
Lots of hockey jerseys.
Backwards hats.
Loves and this is a tweet that he sent out yesterday. This is a tweet from him, and I'll just read it to you, and we'll get your takes on it, and I'll have to describe an image that went along with it as well, but it's an image you'll be familiar with. So he said, religion have been founded on the Bible, resulting in millions of people deriving inspiration and moral strength from amazing stories about fantastic feats of strength.
Okay.
Hundreds of years from now, our descendants will find divine inspiration from the story of Captain America wielding Mjolnir, and it has a picture from Endgame of Chris Evans as Captain America holding the Thor hammer, and apparently suggesting that this is within a century or two's time destined to replace the Bible as the new religion for our descent, for Tyler, Jesse, and Clark Jr.
So the case he's making is that a modern comic book plot, which is, and Tyler, I feel like maybe you can break down some of the nuances of this particular prognostication.
But I think Endgame is a very well-known. But we all know what he's referring to here, right?
Yeah. So there's a moment in the film in Endgame where Captain America wields Thor's hammer in the fight against Thanos. Spoiler alert, I guess. If you haven't seen Endgame by now, I don't know to tell you. But he wields Thor's hammer, and the reason that's significant is because in prior films, none of the Avengers team was even able to get the hammer to basically budge because
there's an implication you have to have some sort of moral worth. You have a certain level of moral and virtue to in order to pick up the hammer, which prior to this, only Thor had been able to.
It's sort of the falconry thing. You don't choose to become a falconry
That's exactly
falcon.
right. Yeah,
the falcon chooses you, right? Like the hammer chose Captain America. So what Kevin Smith here is proposing, that this metaphor is so profound in its implications that it will become the leading global religion for humanity. I'm sure he's being like tongue in cheek, right? You don't think? Do you think? My impression. What's your impression of Kevin Smith? And he is a huge comic book fan, and he has also writes pretty thoughtfully. I don't think a lot of people would draw the same conclusions he has, but he has a history of engaging pretty thoughtfully with religion, even if a bit irreverently.
That is true. He seems clearly interested in Christianity, like deeply interested in the subject, to the point where he is, even if dogma didn't make him a lot of friends in the Christian community. I think that he would say he approaches the subject of Christianity and God as a skeptical fan, maybe.
Yeah.
Appreciates its influence on society and finds the stories to be very moving and interesting from that perspective.
So my question for you is this: is knowing that he is someone who thinks thoughtfully about religion, like I said, if not somewhat irreverently, and he is someone who loves comic books and doesn't make flippant statement. You know, he actually reveres them to an extent. What do you to gauge his level of seriousness or his like philosophical intent by proposing this, Tyler?
I think that he is being pretty sincere. And this, based on just firing off the cuff, I think I think this is a sincere take from Kevin Smith when he has sort of a record of a history of doing this on especially on social media, where and I don't begrudge anyone this, there's a lot of negativity out there. When he loves something, he really sincerely loves it and he goes all in on it. There's no off switch. There's no brakes on his enthusiasm about things. So I think he means this. And I think it's an easy conclusion to come to if you see religion as being purely folklore. Right? Because then what are any of our modern movies except, the folklore of today? They could very easily, within a few generations, achieve some sort of mythic status. And people who make, especially comic books, have been very open about the fact that they're very inspired by biblical stories, and they see these as sort of modern myths in the vein of Greek mythology and Roman mythology. And you can see that these larger than life characters who all stand for various virtues and have superhuman powers. So it's easy to see how you would arrive at this conclusion if your opinion of religion is that it is a purely humanistic endeavor, right?
Yeah. And I can see that case. I think where the argument falls apart is that future generations, though they may extract important moral lessons, and even moral lessons that are like, prescient to the times, right? I mean, you look at Endgame, and ultimately the villain's motives was radical conservationism. You know what I mean? At the cost of eliminating half the human life in the universe, but the ultimate goal was the sort of conservation, right? And so the heroes find themselves in this sort of moral tension of trying to fight this radical idea. But even though the radical idea, it's rooted in a desire for preservation. It's sort of like the moral tension of Black Panther, right? I mean, Killmonger, though his methods that he was proposing would ultimately result in extreme global violence, his ultimate goal was to empower the disenfranchised, right? And so, these heroes, they're not wrestling with simple ideas, they're wrestling with complex moral ones. And so I think, the case that he's making there is not like unfounded. Like, future generations can look to these stories to figure out how our construct of heroes dealt with complex problems. Here's where it falls apart. future generations are going to still see Captain America as a work of fiction, not as a work of history, right? I mean, I really hope that 100 years from now, they're not going to assume that Endgame is a documentary. You know what I mean? Like the difference with the Bible and most holy books is that the people who read them assume or operate under the understanding that most of the stories in there actually happened, and that though those most major holy books are ultimately intended to be like their ultimate purpose is sort of like a spiritual guide and point you to these divine truths. On its surface, it's a history book. It's people recounting Jesus' teaching from a historical perspective. You know what I mean? Like it's made up of historical documents. So that's where it kind of falls apart to me, is the future generations are going to use these works of what they know of fiction as their holy text. I don't know. That's where it kind of falls apart to me.
I agree with you. And I think he was close to I think that people could be inspired by these movies. I think people are inspired by them now. Any movie, any work of fiction, hopefully has some laudable traits and characteristics that you could use to inspire you to stand up for what you believe in and be brave or whatever. It's all sorts of, whether it's the Avengers movies or it's Parasite, or although I know that there are some takes about Parasite out there in the wild today that would suggest that it's maybe not that great of a movie. We'll get to that later. But the idea, when he goes to hundreds of years from now, our descendants will find divine inspiration. Yeah, that's where you lose me. That's where I don't know what's going to happen to future generation, what sort of post-apocalyptic wasteland we're going to deal with.
I'm almost as concerned for the future generations spiritually as I am with their basic knowledge of how the world operates. If they're thinking this is divine knowledge and they think it's true, that means their understanding of the universe is centered on the availability of infinity stones. That's the real concern here. That's I mean, they think this is true. They're probably going to engineer radioactive spiders to bite themselves. You know what I mean? And hope that'll result in cool powers.
If in fact this is true, if Kevin is onto something here, and years from now, our great grandchildren look back at the MCU as a series of documentary features that describe a time in the early 21st century in which superpowered beings were flying around trying to find stones of immense.
They're like, my great grandfather lived in the coolest time ever. Yeah.
Then the last thing they're going to be thinking about is Captain America picking up the hammer. They're going to have, their minds are going to be blown trying to recreate the Iron Man flight suit, for example.
Yeah. Why can't we crack this? They were doing it 200 years ago. We can't even get this thing off the ground. And where is this vibranium mine we've been looking for?
There was
nowhere to be found.
There was a whole awesome country in Africa somewhere with the Black Panther that has been lost to society in a matter of a century. Like their own Atlantis.
It's okay. So I want to counter Kevin Smith's argument by something else that I saw on the internet this week. And then I know we need to move on the hot list because, Clark, I know you're trying to turn this around today and we're breakfast clubbing it. But I got one more point that I want to talk to that is somewhat related to this. And that is, though I think Kevin Smith's point is interesting and I don't think it will actually come true. I don't think it's as interesting as he thinks it is, simply because it just shows me how out of touch he seems with modern evangelical culture. Because do you know how many sermon illustrations there's already been about the Avengers? You know what I mean? Like, how many churches do you think had a sermon series like earlier last year? That was what's your soul's end game, the spiritual end game. They were there. Every church had it. But it reminded me of something else I saw this week. And Tyler, I sent this to you. I don't know if you got a chance to see it. And I wanted to post it on the site because it was just funny. It wasn't me being cynical about the church. It wasn't me wanting to drag a church. It was just funny. But I didn't want in the web context of just like a written, article on our site with some images, it would probably come across as like a little like too mean-spirited and cynical, which I get. And so that's why I like pass. But I do feel like I can set the right context here on the podcast for it. So what it was on Twitter, I saw someone sharing this, and it was a sermon series from last weekend. Okay. So last weekend it was a large church, and it had like up on the screen was the graphic of the sermon series. Okay. And the image was like a women's eyes, and they were like, it was just her eyes like staring back, and they had like a lot of makeup. And so like the hint was it was somewhat of like a suggestive look in her eye. Right. And the text above the screen. Okay. It's Valentine's Day. That's the image. Tyler, do you have any guess what this sermon series was called?
I feel like I saw this, and I can't now remember what it was.
Okay, so just the eyes, and it's coming into Valentine's Day.
I remember it being shocking.
And the sermon series, are you ready for this, Clark? The sermon series was called Victorious Secret.
Oh my God.
Victorious Secret, right? And so, so I don't know what the connection to the lingerie store is with the idea of a secret to living a victorious Christian life. But that was the angle. But what was funny is like on the church's website, and again, man, I don't want to like drag them because I know they're just trying to find a cultural connection point. Yeah. They're just trying to find a cultural connection point and engage. And I understand that. And I think that's an admirable thing to try to get people to be engaged with biblical teaching. But that doesn't make it not funny. You know what I mean? That doesn't make it like I can't not think it's funny. It's Victorious Secret, right? And so on the website they have, and I'm assuming they do this for like every sermon series, they just automatically generate them. But it was ways that I'm assuming that you can like promote the church's sermon series because they had free downloadable like desktop wallpapers. Which one? Who uses desktop wallpapers anymore? You know what I mean? like you to make your, but you could also use that image of those two eyes with the words Victoria's Secret as your phone your phone background and like your save screen. Who at the church is that? Like, is the pastor like, hey, at staff meeting, he's like, listen, don't forget, we got the men's retreat coming up next weekend, the big elders breakfast. Oh, yeah. If you guys could all go ahead and break out your phones and go ahead and download the new sermon series wallpaper. It's called Victoria's Secret. And it's going to be two seductive eyes staring back at you. Right. If you guys could just make them your save screens, just kind of get the word out, I think it's really going to make an impact in the community.
I share on social.
I do recall this, and there I saw that they recently did another sermon series that was entitled, this is true, I'm going to let you finish taking a drink of coffee, Jesse. This is true, called Strip Club, How the Church is the World's Largest Collection of Naked People. I think the idea, and at some point you start to feel like this is the pastor wants this to be their thing. Like, we're the church that has like kind of funny, maybe slightly body humor to pull in.
But I can't. But here's the thing: it seems to be executed without any irony. You know what I mean? Right. Like, I feel like they kind of think it might be more clever. Like, but not so much more clever, but how many people are making their determination of I'm going to either go to this church or not go to this church, and they're I can't decide. But wait. The sermon's called Strip Club. I will certainly, I understand the motivation, but it just I question the effectiveness because it has unintended consequences, which is what we're doing, which is like, okay, objectively, this is kind of funny.
It's a little cringy. It's a little cringy. Yeah. It's a little bit. There's a little bit of a hint of like when your attempt to engage the culture around you turns into just like blatant appeals to consumerism. That I don't know where that line is. I'm not a pastor. I don't have to deal with those. Those. Thank goodness. But for any pastors out there listening, I feel like this one may have crossed the line. It's just kind of eye rolling. I feel like the kids who would see this be like, oh, please.
Yeah, and this is out of love, church. Like
Always.
I'm sure you're doing really good work there, and I'm sure you're reaching a lot of people, and I'm sure your teaching is really good, and that's why we encourage you to lean on the skills God has given you, and not necessarily puns like Victoria's Secret.
All right, we are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're doing the hot list.
Has God put something in your heart to do, perhaps something bigger than just the normal routine of life, perhaps to build His kingdom and to advance His cause? My name is Jamie Dew. I'm the president of New Orleans Seminary and Level College. I want to encourage you to join us at the Towel and Basin podcast, where we take up all issues related to the kingdom. Go to nobts.edu/podcasts. Hope to see you there.
You're listening to Best Friends. It's by Hillsong, Young and Free. At the top of the cast, you heard Need Your Love. That's by Tennis. All right, time for our weekly look back at the story, our favorite stories at the intersection of faith and culture this week. It's time for...
It's the hot list, the hot list. It's sizzling.
All right, number 5 this week, an American Idol contestant led the judges in prayer. This is a cool moment.
It was cool, yeah.
This young singer who goes by Just Sam got emotional when opening up about some of the struggles that she's faced in her personal life. She became overwhelmed to the point of tears while singing Lauren Daigle's You Say. However, after the judges gave her a chance to compose herself and sing a new song, she looked over at Luke Bryan, Katy Perry, and Lionel Richie and asked, "Can I pray with you guys? Is that okay?" They agreed, and she walked over, took their hands, and led them in prayer. Here is a clip.
I'm so grateful that you guys even listened to me.
I'm so grateful that God put you in front of us, okay?
Can I pray with you guys? Is that okay?
Please, whatever you want to do. Come
Prayer
here.
that
Come
I
here.
want to do with you guys.
Come here.
So repeat after me. Heavenly Father,
Heavenly Father,
Lord, make my life brand new right here, right now.
Lord, make my life brand new right here, right now.
With my friends.
With my friends.
And my new fam.
And my new fam. Amen.
Can we go jump in the Potomac?
We've been saved!
Baptized.
All right, now Sam, we wanted to say something. You ready for this, guys?
And then that celebration you hear at the end was her showing her family her golden ticket because she's going to Hollywood this week. She to stay in it, and she should. She has a really good
Pretty
voice.
cool.
Yeah, she was great. This was such a cool moment. It's hard not to really like this young singer. Yeah, I mean, she's
a very winsome personality.
Yeah, and she wears her heart on her sleeves to a degree, but even just the sincerity of her prayer, and also like it was such like if you could pick 3 American Idol judges, it's not that I've like been closely following American Idol for all these years, but like the 3 that were present for the prayer, like Lionel Richie openly was talking about God before this contestant walked over and asked for prayer. Katy Perry obviously has a past as a Christian music singer, and in recent years has kind of open, her father's a pastor. She grew up in the church. She's kind of talked more about engaging with her faith. I have no idea what Luke Bryan is, but I kind of assume that all modern country singers probably consider themselves like,
flip on the religion switch on a dime.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's the one who suggested after he was the one in the clip, maybe like, let's go jump in the Potomac and get baptized. It's like, the spirit of it was just was really cool. And it wasn't cynical, and it was funny and good natured, and it was a great moment, Yeah,
it was cool. It was a powerful moment. I like her. I'll be insofar as I root for anybody on American Idol, which isn't very much. I would say
Team Sam,
but definitely Team Sam. Sam, we're rooting for you. Number 4 this week, Rich Wilkerson Jr. offered the people who stole his car an internship. I'm still waiting on it. So last week, VOO church pastor Rich Wilkerson Jr. had his car stolen. Fortunately, it was found a few days later, but in an Instagram video, Wilkerson addressed to the individuals who stole his car. They haven't been caught yet, and he offered his forgiveness and a job. He invited them to church. He offered them a 3-month internship and assured them that he wouldn't press charges. Here's a clip from his Instagram video.
Happy Friday, everybody out there. Happy Valentine's Day. I sure hope that you've got a Valentine today. If you don't, Jesus loves you. Check this out. It's a good day. Not only is it Valentine's Day, but they found my car. Amen. We are very, very grateful about this. If you hadn't heard, 2 days ago, our car was stolen from our driveway. A little scary, felt a little invasive. But the good news is that they found the car. Now, here's the deal. Whoever you are that took our car, we think there's about 3 of you. Number one, I'll let you know, we love you. We're for you. And thank you for leaving it somewhere that we could find it. But here's the deal. I want to challenge you right now, those of you that stole my car, because here's what I know. If you keep doing stuff like this, life is not going to be good for you. You're going to spend probably forever in prison. So here's a challenge. I think today, Valentine's Day, is a good day to pivot. That's a change of strategy, okay? I want to give you a better strategy towards success. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you an opportunity right now. This Sunday, I want you to come to VOO Church. And if you come to the 10 or the 12:15 service, come up to the front afterwards and just say, hey, I was the one that Rich was challenging. I was a part of that incident. We want to give you an opportunity. And the opportunity is this, is I'm going to let you be an intern at VOO Church for 3 months. Now listen, I will not pay you. You did steal my car. But for 3 months, I'm going to intern you and mentor you. And I actually believe if you give us 3 months of your life will be changed. You'll be on a much, much better path. And I think you can take this really bad thing that happened and we can turn it into a good thing. Yeah. Not going to prosecute you, not going to press charges, actually want to love you and actually want to give you an opportunity. So if you stole my car, it's all good, bro. Thanks for leaving the stroller. That was very kind of you. But we love you. Come to church this Sunday, 10 or 12, and we're going to give you a 3-month internship. It's going to be awesome. All right. I love you. Peace.
Do you think if you're one of the car thieves, you smell a trap there? You're like, yeah, you're not you. Nice try.
Yeah, nice try. Yeah, it's like, hey, I'm here for the internship, and he's like, all right, so first task, we want you to just, I just want to, give me your hands, brother. I just want to shake your hands, and he like throws on handcuffs, like, citizen's arrest, fool. Yeah, there's no internship, sucker. No, I think it's great. I think it's cool that he's not pressing charges.
Oh, I think it's super cool.
It's a cool act of grace. I don't know if most people are in the mood to offer, the thief a job. But so I think it's very cool of him. I had a buddy in high school who get his car stolen. He actually had his car stolen like 3 times, and it wasn't a very nice car. And this isn't, I'm not throwing shade on anyone who owns a Dodge Spirit, but that's what it was. And it was an aging Dodge Spirit that had some issues with the paint. So I don't know what it made it appealing to car thieves. Other than that, maybe it's just easy to like hotwire. But one time he got his car stolen, and this is way back in the day when people used to carry CD books in the car. Did you guys have CD books?
Oh yeah.
Pre-Spotify, pre-iPhone, and you literally, if you wanted tunes to switch up your tunes, you had to pull out like a giant 3-ring binder of CDs and fire another one up. Well, he got his car stolen, and they ended up finding it a couple days later. And he went to check it out, and the car was fine. There was no damage. Someone just kind of took it joyriding. But weirdly, they stole his CD book, but they accidentally left their own CD book. And so my buddy was like, I'm not really mad at these car thieves because they basically traded CDs with him, and they had way better taste in music than me. So he ended up, for the price of a joyride, he got a whole new music collection. So, you never know what you're going to get with those good-natured car thieves out there.
Number 3 this week, Chance the Rapper performed Ultralight Beam during All-Star Weekend. So Chance was among the many artists who provided entertainment. This week's NBA All-Star Game made an interesting song choice during the mini concert. He sang Kanye's 2016 single Ultralight Beam. Kanye was actually there. He was sitting courtside for some of the weekend's events, but he didn't join Chance for Ultralight Beam. That's from Kanye's Life of Pablo album. It features one of the all-time great Chance guest verses, and it was, for a lot of us, our first introduction to Chance the Rapper. Here's a clip of that performance.
When they come for you, I will shield your name. I will field their questions. I will feel your pain. No one can judge, yeah. They don't know. they don't know. Foot on the devil's neck till it drifted Pangea. I'm moving all my family from Chatham to Zambia. Treat the demons just like Pam. I mean, I mess with your friends, but damn, Gina, I've been this way since Arthur was in Eda. Now they wanna hit me with the woo-wop, the bam. Trying to snap photos of family. My daughter look just like Sia. You can feel the lyrics, the spirit coming in braille. Tell me another underground, come and follow the trail. I made Sunday candy, I'm never going to hell. I met Kanye West, I'm never going to. He said, let's do a good ass job with Chance 3. I hear you gotta sell it to snatch the Grammy. Let's make it so free and the bar so hard. It ain't one gosh darn part you can't. This is my part, nobody else be. This is my part, nobody else be. This little light of mine, glory be to God. Yeah, I'ma make sure that they go where they can't go. They don't wanna ride, I'ma still throw them raincoats. God said when he made the first rainbow, just notice at the end about you like,
All right, I got a question about this, guys, because obviously, you know, the All-Star weekend was in Chicago, and they really made it. The NBA really made an effort to make it very regional. You know, there's a lot of tributes to like Michael, Michael Jordan and things like that, the Bulls, and that's partly why Chance was chosen to be part of the entertainment. Sure. Like Common had a big presence at All-Star weekend; he was everywhere. So they really kind of leaned on some of these Chicago artists. But did you guys did you guys both watch the full Chance the Rapper performance? It was probably like 12 minutes. We embedded the whole thing on the site. Did you guys
watch it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Did you feel like him mixing in so many, well, like, for example, Ultralight Beam is not a Chance the Rapper song. It is a song that he has a verse on that's from a Kanye album. Do you feel like that, you know, making that sort of the center point of the performance is sort of a concession on Chance's part that his latest album wasn't his best work? I mean, that's not me coming at him. That's just saying, like, you know, obviously his last album got kind of mixed reviews. I think it's great. I saw him at I saw him do a guest performance at Lollapalooza with Death Cab. I thought he was great. I'm a big Chance fan, but it seems like when someone would do something, you know, something like this so close on the, you know, within the span of a time when they're promoting a new album, they wouldn't go to like a random verse from someone else's song. Do you feel like it's somewhat of a concession that he's done better work?
Yes and no. He does that. I've seen Chance 2 or 3 times, and he has performed that song every time. Really? That I've seen him, even pre Big Day. So this isn't like a super strange thing for him to do. I think he's really proud I think he really loves Kanye. I think he's really proud of his affiliate of like Kanye, like finding him and kind of him sees himself maybe, or at least at one point did see himself as Kanye's protege, probably rightfully so. Both Chicago rappers, both had sort of a similar story, like coming up, like in the way that they came up. And then obviously his guest verse on this song was his real breakthrough to mainstream attention after Acid Rap came out. So I think that it's not super unusual, but I think that he probably does understand that his last album just didn't have the same impact that Coloring Book did. And if there was a single on there that had really broken out, he probably would have done that one instead. Yeah.
Yeah. And his verse on Ultralight Beam is one of the best verses
all time.
Yeah.
I think it's one of my favorite of the decade. Like it's such a good, he's a great talent, and he'll be, you know, this isn't to cast any aspersions on.
No, not at all.
He'll be back with another album. It just
not at all. I like Big Day. I may be in sort of the critical minority, but I actually like the album a lot. I just didn't know if because his reaction to some of the criticism seemed to be, you know, so vulnerable. I didn't know if you guys thought that this was sort of a concession that sort of, maybe I'm just reading way too into it. Maybe it's just a Chicago artist performing a verse from another Chicago artist song, you know.
It was awesome.
Yeah, it was killer. It was killer. He brought it down. It was great.
Number 2, Justin Bieber discussed Jesus with Zane Lowe. So on the heels of the release of his new album, Changes, Justin Bieber sat down with Apple Music's Zane Lowe for an extended interview about his life, career, his marriage, and his faith. He explained, "I'm very, very grateful to have influences in my life that have played a huge part in me seeing their relationship with Jesus and their relationship with their wives and their relationship with their kids and saying, that's what I want. And I'm striving after that. In the years since his last album, Bieber's opened up about his struggles with mental health issues and has been open about his previous legal struggles and issues with substance abuse. However, he has since rededicated himself to his faith. He got married. And as he explained to Zane Lowe, it was the idea of grace that helped him through some of those difficult times. Here is a clip of that.
I think that I was just, living in this shame, living in all this sort of stuff of my past, and I wasn't able to move on. But the more I looked at it, so now I'm not doing, the way I look at my relationship with God and with Jesus is I'm not trying to earn God's love by doing good things. God has already loved me for who I am before I did anything to earn and deserve it. It's a free gift by accepting Jesus and just giving your life to him. And what he did is the gift. The forgiveness is the thing that we look at and, I'm going to worship you, God, because you gave me something so good. And so you live that life of like, I don't want to cheat on my wife, not because it's the right thing to do, but because I don't want to hurt her. See the difference there?
That is love.
Yeah. It's
You're
like,
putting the well-being of someone that you care about ahead of your own fallibilities and your own previous behavior.
Exactly.
And what's out there.
Exactly.
So speaking of, I think it's super cool that Bieber has felt as open as he has to talk about some of these things. I mean, talking about faith is obviously cool, but talking about past issues with substance abuse and mental health, that's not easy. And especially when you have somebody with the sort of fan base that he has and just the really unprecedented growing up experience that Justin Bieber had. I feel like having any sort of semblance of a normal mental health life probably just isn't available to you. And we probably don't have a whole lot of, there's no blueprint, there's no roadmap for how those guys are supposed to be like and what they're supposed to, and how their therapists and counselors and pastors can help them through it. And I think a lot of them have really tried, and it's cool to see that has resulted in him feeling like he can talk about some of these things.
It really does seem like we've got to see kind of his maturing, in the way he talks about faith in the last few years, which it's super encouraging. I do have another unrelated. It's unrelated. It's related to Justin Bieber. It's unrelated to faith. The mustache thing that he's rocking. Okay, he's kind of got this like. If you haven't seen,
I wasn't going to bring it up, but
I'm bringing it up. I'm broaching it because it made me think of something. So Justin Bieber has a mustache now. He seems to be very proud of it. And if you saw him on SNL or on Instagram, wherever, you can go see the mustache. It looks like a mustache. But it made me think about facial hair because before we started today, like I said, we're recording really early in the earlier than we typically do, and the lighting is not the typical. Most of the time, again behind the curtains, Tyler and I see each other when we record over webcams. We're not even in the same state, but we look right at each other, so it kind of resembles being in a studio. And the lighting around us is usually natural light. Like Tyler and I sit in office spaces in our homes, in our studios near windows, right?
That vitamin D.
Yeah. And so the way that the light was coming in this morning, as it was cresting over the Nashville horizon, and it was shining light in his room, for some reason, the way it was falling on Tyler's face made it look like he had only a chin goatee. Okay. And I didn't say anything. I knew he didn't have it. I saw Tyler yesterday and I talked to him a lot. And I did not see a chin goatee, and I don't think one magically grew overnight, and I don't think he
not
used
that kind of guy.
Like one of the, something to like paint one on or anything. But it did look like a chin goatee, and I could not see him with a chin goatee. So here is my question for you, Tyler, and I want to figure out a way to make this bet happen, right? Okay. Like if you had to go around for 2 weeks and with an item of facial hair, and this isn't for anyone. I'm not making fun of anyone who has a goatee or who has a mustache, but I'm just saying
it would be a new look for me.
It would be a new look for Tyler. It would seem very uncharacteristic of kind of the look he has going. So here's where I'm getting. So Tyler, which would you least like to have to wear for 2 weeks? Okay. And the stipulations of this hypothetical feat of endurance would be you cannot tell anyone that you're doing it ironically.
I see.
Okay. You just if people mention it, you just be like, yeah, just trying something new. Okay. You'd have to let on that this was a sincere effort to redo your look. Okay. So your options are this: a goatee. So you have to choose one of the following, okay?
Just a chin goatee?
No, like the straight up
full-
goatee. Like it goes from above the lips, it connects down the sides and the chin.
Tony Stark.
The Tony Stark. Yeah, exactly. So that's option 1. 2 is a healthy soul patch, which a soul patch is a tuft of hair right under the
Just a
bottom
little triangle.
lip. Yeah, just a little triangle, but a real tuft there, okay? The third is a mustache. The 4th is just the chin goatee, which is a goatee that populates the main part of your chin area. Okay, if you had to pick one, which would be at the top of the list that you would do? And again, you can't let people let it on that you're doing this as an experiment.
I'm trying it out.
Yeah. Which one would you most like to do?
I think the answer would be, for me, the full-on goatee, because
Tony
it's such
Stark.
a sinister. There's something about it that's so like, oh, he's turned to a life of crime. He is like
It's either
it
that-
would make sense that I couldn't talk about it.
It's either
because
it's either he's turned to a life of crime or he's turned to a life of IT work. Like, I feel like when you get that goatee, they just give you a cell phone belt clip at the barber shop. They're like, here, you're going to need this now. Yeah. And they're like, hey, also, there's a pack of earth tone polo shirts. You're going to need to start tucking those in, Chief. That goes with the goatee.
The mustache is the obviously easy one because, like, with Justin Bieber, there's lots of guys who will just grow like kind of the ironic mustache
sure,
thing now. And I
sure.
feel like a lot of friends wouldn't. They're like, oh, just trying
sure,
to
why
be
not?
cool, trying and
Okay.
failing again.
Which one would
to
you
be cool.
least like to do? Which one would you
It's
least?
got to be the chin goatee. That is just
Just not your look, man.
not interested.
Clark, how can we get Tyler to grow a chin goatee for 2 weeks? Like, what can we hatch to? I think a Twitter, Tyler. How about that? If I release a Twitter poll on the Relevant Podcast Twitter. Should Tyler grow a chin goatee for 2 weeks, non-ironically? If they vote for it, will you do it?
If it was, no, I would not. It would have to be, I'll tell you what it would take. It would take some sort of, if there was some sort of charity, if we had a monetary goal for
What's the goal?
some sort of charity.
What's the price? Because there are endless charities here. Worthy charities that would. What is the goal? How much would it take for you to non-ironically grow a chin goatee for 2 weeks?
Let's see. I think if we hit, this is not as big as Nickelback. This isn't the same level of commitment.
I think for Nickelback we raised somewhere in the neighborhood of $30,000 or $40,000. I can't remember, but I think it was
your initial goal was
$5,000.
$5,000.
Which
Okay.
that when people we ended up surpassing that like the first day because the strength of the idea from a listener was so funny to listen to.
And this is not that. This isn't that. But for a good cause, I would still do it. If we were to, my first thought would be races. The Texas immigrant legal action community.
Okay.
If we could get $1,000 for them, then I would.
$1,000?
Yeah.
Easy peasy, man.
Listeners, hit us up on Twitter if you'll chip in a couple shekels so that Tyler will grow this because $1,000 seems extremely obtainable. I'm willing to go in, a 1/100th of that. I'll throw in 10. We only need 100 people at the $10 level, and Tyler's walking around Nashville with an unironic chin goatee. So let us know at Relevant Podcast. I'm very, very serious about this. Okay, if I get enough, if there's enough people, okay. Here's what it is. Here's what we're gonna have to do, Tyler. Let's up the stakes. Let's go 2,000, and Tyler has to go full early 90s youth pastor makeover. Okay. Like the chin. I feel like the chin goatee is part of that, right? We need to get you some oversized old youth group t-shirts or some breadcrumb and fish, catch up
We'll
to
have
the
to find
spirit
them.
or those. Yeah. So a full, how much is a full 90s youth pastor makeover worth to you, Tyler?
Now we're getting up there a little bit. It would have to be supplied, and then I think we're talking 2,500.
Okay. And how long and how many days consecutive would you? I feel like it's got to be a week.
14 days.
14 days in the Youth Pastor Makeover.
In the full, yeah, we can
for
do that.
2,500. Okay, at Relevant Podcast, tweet us. Let us know what should be a part of the makeover, and also, would you be willing to contribute? I think this is an easy way to earn $2,500 for a very, very good cause. Let us know, Tyler. I'm excited, man. This is gonna.
Well, I'll start pulling together. The pieces of the outfit right now.
Sounds good.
I'll call a hairstylist, get the highlights,
get the frosted tips. Yes. I feel like everywhere you go, you have to carry like a pizza box around. Be like, pizza party! the official outreach of the 90s Youth Pastor.
Every conversation, flip the chair around backwards.
Invite everyone to a lock-in.
Hey guys, things are going to get a little real for a minute. I hope that's okay with you.
Welcome to Victoria's Secret Youth Club Edition. Youth Edition. For the kids. Okay. All right. Looking for it. All right. Number 1 this week, Nathan Fielder and the Safdie brothers have a comedy series in the works. Okay. So this is an interesting one. Nathan For You creator Nathan Fielder is teaming up with Uncut Gems writer-director duo Benny and Josh Safdie for a comedy series that's headed to Showtime. The half-hour comedy is called The Curse. It explores the strange supernatural goings-on of the house owned by an HGTV famous Chip and Jo type couple. The plot is still mostly under wraps, but the idea is that a couple who stars in their own HGTV show called The Flipanthropy start dealing with an alleged curse in their home. Fielder will play the husband, and Benny Safdie will be a producer on the fictional show. If you don't know, Nathan Fielder, he was nominated for 3 WGA awards for his show Nathan For You, a show that's part business consultant mockumentary, part candid camera documentary, all cringe. He's also appeared in Transparent, Drunk History, and The Disaster Artist. The Safdie brothers are in high demand after reminding the world that Adam Sandler can really act with their pulse-pounding nail-biter Uncut Gems. They were also nominated for a Film Independent Spirit Award in the directing category for the Robert Pattinson starring Good Time. This sounds very up my alley in a lot of ways. Yes. I'm a big Nathan For You fan. Jesse, I know you love Nathan For You.
I do. He's a genius. I
struggled with knowing how to even describe the show. I tried in this too.
You did. That's accurate. Yeah. It's sort of an experimental reality show.
If you haven't seen it, it is really hard to describe, but it is worth watching because it is some of the things that Nathan Fielder pulls off in that show. I don't know. I don't think anybody else in the world could probably do.
And combining with the Safdie brothers, who are really interesting filmmakers, who seem very content on telling stories that they want to tell the way they want to tell them in a very uncompromising fashion, is very exciting. And plus, HGTV, like I totally understand the appeal of Chip and Jo. You know, Chip's been in the magazine. We got a chance to interview him. I think they're awesome people, and I think their whole kind of empire is pretty fun, right? Like all the farm chic furniture that you can now buy at Target. But let's be honest here, this is another thing that's ripe for parody. Like I'm shocked there is no HGTV sort of mockumentary or parody show, because it is ripe for that kind of good-natured parody, mainly because at this point everyone is familiar with the formula, which is let's find 2 people that have some experience in real estate or design, right? It's great if they're related, and then we show everyday Americans checking out 3 houses, and then we'll renovate one and unveil it at the end. That's the formula for Fixer Upper. That's the formula for Property Brothers. That's the formula for half the shows on. They got a new one with like a husband and wife from some town in Louisiana. Like they follow the same formula. Related real estate design couple, show 3 houses, flip one at the end. Any show that's kind of making fun of that trope, I think, will be funny, just because we've all become so familiar with it.
I think that the cookies are on the bottom shelf for this one, and the team they hired is wildly overqualified. And that's so I think that's the joy, that's the thrill of it. It could be a lot of fun. I think it will not be. It'd be easy to do a easy, like suitably funny parody of the HGTV stuff, and this one feels like it's playing the game on hard mode, and I think it could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, well, that'll do it for this week's.
It's the high list. It's sizzling.
When we come back, Sadie Robertson joins us.
Yeah, the most alive. Endurance is the source of my praise.
You're listening to Cut Me by Moses Sumney. Sadie Robertson is a speaker, writer, former star of Duck Dynasty, former Dancing with the Stars runner-up, and is an Instagram influencer with more than 3.7 million followers. In her book, Live, Remain Alive, Be Alive at a Specified Time, Have an Exciting or Fulfilling Life, Sadie explains ways to engage with God's truth and light in a world that is growing more and more confusing. I got to talk to Sadie. We had a fun conversation about this book and some of the I think also just some of the why is what's most interesting to me. A lot of times these people have a lot of options. Sadie could do anything, and she doesn't have to do anything actually at all. She's I think when you're an influencer, nobody expects a whole lot from you. So the fact that she decided to do a book, I think is really cool. And what I wanted to know is why this book, like what really motivated her for this to be the book. And this is what she had to say.
I think the core message of it all is just that everybody's life has value and everybody's life has meaning. And I think that, we are living in a time where suicide is like the second highest cause of death for young people. And that's why I changed the title of the book. So it's all about life. And I didn't feel very qualified to write towards that. But then at the same time, I felt like I can talk about the fact that your life is valuable and your life is meaningful, because I do believe that about everybody. So the whole book is just a celebration of life and a celebration of your own life, and trying to get people to have a revelation that, wow, I have breath in my lungs. That means I have a purpose. That means that I have value here. And so I think people would definitely feel that and experience that as they read the book, because that's what the whole book is really breathing throughout the whole thing.
So Sadie mentioned the something we've talked about a lot, relevant, the suicide rate, which is soaring and doesn't seem to be abating. And she brought that up as a real prime motivating factor for why she felt like there needs to be a message encouraging people to start to stop just existing and start really living. And she wanted to be very clear about where the sort of the limitations of what she's talking about, that this a lifestyle, as she's talking about, isn't a cure-all for mental health issues. This is the mental health is a real thing, and you can't just sort of wish yourself out of it with just a bunch of practical, easy to do steps. It's more complicated than that. But mental health is serious for her, and something that she's had her own issues with that she talked about here.
Okay, so I think mental health, I know mental health, it's such a broad topic, and there are certain types of mental health that are like chemical imbalances, and so that's not really what I'm talking about in the book, because for those things I do understand that there are at times medication needed, or there's therapy and counselors needed, and I highly recommend doing those things and talking to the doctors and calling the hotline, and we even provide a number for suicide prevention. So there's certainly levels to this. And a lot of what I'm talking about is personal experience of wrestling with anxiety and my own life. And, I had a long period of anxiety. That's why I wrote the book with Fearless. And so I do understand that there's different levels, but I do think that for most of us, almost everyone in this generation has faced temporary moments of anxiety or depression or feelings of sadness or really down on themselves or worthlessness or whatever. that may look like, or feeling unlovable. That's lies we've all believed. That's thoughts we've all had. You know, the Bible says that the tongue holds the power of life and death. And so therefore, when we speak, like, we have a power in our mouth to be able to declare life over each other, to bring life. And so this book really is that. It's bringing life to certain situations. It's giving truth to people who are on a thought pattern that's very negative, or on a life pattern that's very negative. It's like, if you do this, this, and this is how you're going to. Let's shift that, and let's walk into something like this and look at the life that you start to feel in your body. And so it's a practical book. It's crazy because it is such a big topic of life and death, but yet it's a very practical thing, because life and death happen and will happen to all of us. And so we have to be able to put language to it.
So I think it's so cool to see someone like a Sadie Robertson or some of these other figures who aren't just big cultural figures, but are, we talked about Justin Bieber earlier, opening up about mental health and, dealing with that in ways that are healthy. That, some of these celebrities, I feel like Instagram culture lends itself to a degree of vulnerability, that someone like Sadie, who does, I mean, she's got almost 4 million people who follow her every post. I think it's really cool that she's willing to open up about a topic like that.
Yeah. And something that I think is a huge part of that. And I really I was curious how she would deal with this, because this is not necessarily an obvious question, but I was interested in it when she talks about this kind of choosing this sort of life that she's talking about. I wanted to know who had modeled that for her. What sort of people in her life did she know who had really showed her the right way to do that? And I appreciated how willing she was to open up about that.
I think my mom is definitely one of those people. I know it's like a classic, like, my mom, but my mom, like, is the most consistent person I've ever met in my life. Like, she's so consistent. She doesn't get too down. She doesn't overreact about things. And one day I asked her, I was like, how are you so consistent? Like, how are you not afraid of things? How does things not bother you? And she literally said to me, she was like, well, honestly, like, I just believe God's word is true. And it was really powerful, because it's something that, like, I read too. It's something that I believe too, except for, like, I don't necessarily, before this moment, did I really take that into play as much as you want to talk about something that has remained, the scripture that's lasted for 2,000 years, like, that's something that actually has stayed the same when everything in the world constantly changes by different trends, different days. And so I started to think, like, okay, Mom, you're onto something here. And that's kind of, she definitely has been a huge influence to me. And also my husband, his story is really cool. He used to, somebody who was totally in the world, totally going with the world's options of temporary satisfactions. And then one day he was like, this isn't working. Like, I don't feel good about myself or life. And that's whenever he started to have faith. And whenever he turned to Jesus, his life completely changed. And we met years after that. And so it's just really cool, because I look at him and his story, and somebody who kind of went both ways and found that Jesus is the option. So it's really cool. Both of those people have been hugely influential to me.
Yeah, so you know what? If you could do a lot worse than the two of the people who are closest to you being able to model such a cool way of living. I really appreciated her being willing to talk about that. And I appreciated the conversation as a whole. You can pre-order her book, Live, right now. That was Sadie Robertson. Next up is our mid-season preview of the Church Leadership podcast called With Eugene Cho. You're listening to Cemetery by Coin.
Love Coin. Love that coin.
Oh, yeah. Love that coin.
Always got to get that coin. Each week on Relevant's church podcast called Leading Pastors, Activists, and Thinkers, join us to discuss the issues facing today's churches and share insights and tips on how to more effectively reach people and build God's kingdom. Now, as we approach the mid-season point of season 2, we wanted to give a preview of next week's episode. It features an interview with a great guy, writer, former megachurch pastor Eugene Cho about innovation in ministry, called Joel Bennett. discuss new ways of new ministry and how to look at innovation in the modern church with Eugene. Here's a clip of that conversation.
If we can talk about leadership like that, and we're going to, excuse me, to change some things up, how does that roll on into our services? Should we be liturgical? Should we be a concert, churchtainment? Is there a happy medium? What does it look like in a postmodern society, this postmodern world?
Yeah. Well, that's a question that I don't want to answer, meaning I'll answer it, but not, I think, in the way that people want me to answer it. I'm really grateful that God cannot be contained. The kingdom of God cannot be contained by one expression of innovation or church or leadership. While I love Quest Church and our expression, and I believe it to be authentic and real and genuine, we tell people Quest is not the way to do church. It's one way. It's one community's diligent expression of how we seek to embody our faith, not just on a Sunday, but every single day of the week. So, as for like liturgical or concert venue, that's up for conversation for each community and congregation. But I do think that what we have to be careful about is that we live in a hyper-individualized world, a very consumer-centric world. So let's be careful that we're not just giving people what they want to entertain people, and we're not actually digging deep into the holistic formation, the discipleship of our people in our church, not just for a Sunday, for a 65-minute or a 90-minute or a 2-hour service, but how are we really equipping people to be about the whole gospel, the whole person in all spheres of society? That's the hard question. And I think that's really where God wants us to be.
In your first book, Overrated, you address the question in ministry. Are we more in love with the idea of changing the world than actually changing the world? How can a leader, an activist, a pastor, how do we honestly address that?
I recently, a friend of mine told me that, and I just met this person at a local coffee shop, and he was telling me that he was trying to look for me online and Googled Eugene Cho is an overrated jerk and was able to find me. So I've got a book entitled Overrated and a book entitled Thou Shalt Not Be a Jerk. I think it begins with confession. I think confession is oftentimes it sounds dramatic, but I think it's one of the most under-discussed, underutilized, underappreciated Christian gift and discipline, to be able to share from confession and vulnerability. And so that book, Overrated, is not a guru's how-to guide. It's kind of my confession that I have been more enamored as a preacher, as a professional clergy. Sometimes it's tempting to hide behind a pulpit, hide behind a blog, hide behind my social media and talk about certain things. And when it gets tough and rigorous and challenging, to not push through those things. So I think it begins with confession. I think it begins with taking more time to prayerfully study scripture, to pray, to fast. I think in our culture, there's this kind of obsession of doing things. And as a result, we do it quickly, but we flame out. We're not about the marathon. We're more about the sprint. The story that I talk about in the book is the story about Nehemiah. When he's convicted about the conditions of the walls in Jerusalem, it's not an overnight fasting, an overnight prayer meeting that he has. It's something that he wrestles with for months. Scholars say anywhere from 4 to 6 months. He's really, really wrestling with what it means to be broken about the things that break God's heart. There's other things that I would share, but those are the first two things that come to mind right now.
If God calls us to innovate, which he obviously asked you to innovate in the way you're doing church, so on the flip side of it, it's going to be it's going to have some times afterwards that are, as it says in James, tests and trials come at us from all shapes and sizes.
Yeah, and I think that's the stuff that we need to maybe spend more time talking about. There's a cost to innovation. There's pain to innovation. All things that I think are meaningful and worthwhile. You could replace the word innovation with community community, there's a cost to community. Justice. Everyone loves justice. There's a cost to justice. And I think, as we're talking about innovation, it's tremendously important that we're speaking about these things. I think what we're doing is we're trying to give people permission to think about these things, urging people to create margin for personal R&D, organizational R&D. But we should also let people know there's a cost, like there's risk involved, there's pain involved, there's failure involved, and that's okay.
So, such a great conversation. This week's episode that people can go listen now with One Hope President Rob Hoskins. Fascinating interview. He talks about how a trip to Swaziland to kind of observe some kind of ministry efforts out there really led to this huge revelation about how to do ministry in the modern era. You're going to want to check out this week's, and you want to go ahead and subscribe so you can hear the entire conversation with Eugene Cho. He talks a little bit about his new book that's coming out about civility and how to talk about difficult things in Christians and maintain civility. But really, the heart of the conversation was about ways that churches are innovating, can innovate, and some of the cautions of, as you heard there, of making innovation into, a sort of idol. Fascinating conversation. Every week, these, the team that produces is behind Josh and Joel and the whole team there does an incredible job of curating these conversations with Jason Laird, that we've been able to have with people like Julia Veach, John Eldridge, as you heard, Eugene Cho, Rob Hoskins, tons of others. You want to download it. You want to check it out. It is called, and it is everywhere. We still got 5 episodes left in the season. We're super excited about it. Go get it now, and you can hear the full conversation with Rob Hoskins this week, and on Wednesday, the rest of the conversation with Eugene Cho.
Thanks, Jesse. And hey, many thanks to Sadie Robertson for joining us. Live is available for pre-order. Make sure you check that out. Also, Called, like Jesse said, you can subscribe to season 2 of that right now for the full conversation with Eugene and all the other church leaders that they talk to over there. And hey, as long as you're subscribing to new podcasts, check out Relevant Daily. It comes at you 5 times a week, Monday through Friday, featuring the top 3 stories at the intersection of faith and culture that we bring you every workday. And hey, that'll wrap it up for the morning show, I think. Let's go back to bed. Yeah.
Good night, guys. I'm Jesse Carey.
Oh, thanks a lot. I hope everybody has a good rest of your Friday. I'm Tyler Huckabee.
I'm Jesse Carey hitting the snooze.
I'm Clark Flippo. Good night.
Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Relevant Podcast. If you like what you heard, be sure to leave us a review on iTunes. Check out other shows from the Relevant Podcast Network in the podcast section at relevantmagazine.com. And while you're there, browse exclusive podcast merchandise at our online store. Make sure to subscribe to Relevant Magazine. Info is available at relevantmagazine.com/subscribe.
I'm in the shock jock seat. Wonka, wonka, wonka. Woo!
Relevant Podcast Network.